good for you.
Are we on?
So there's no more pork in your house?
I wanted a cow because I like beef better. She said, no way. Sorry.
Who did it? Who did it?
Patrick. He's the head of cardiac surgery on the St. John.
St.
Oh, I
John?
see it, the gentleman feet, okay.
All right, let's roll.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Bruce.
Councilmember Seeley.
Present.
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Councilmember Ellis.
Here.
Councilmember Gazelle.
Present.
Mayor Kuchar.
Here.
Councilmember Cusick.
Here.
And I understand Bruce is under the weather, so I invite a motion to excuse him from today's meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
On page 3 to 6 are the minutes from the last regular meeting on November 21st. Please take a look, and if acceptable, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. On page 7 was the closed session that we had to discuss a pending legal issue. Please review the minutes, and I need a motion to accept the closed session meeting of November 21st.
So moved.
Is there support? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Also, we have the Planning Commission and the Finance Committee meetings. We're accepting the public domain on pages 8 through 12. Need a motion to accept.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment? We have any public comment? See some eager faces out there, no? Okay. Well, this is one of the delightful parts of the meeting. We are going to welcome our new council member, Matt Seeley. Matt, please come to the front. Raise your right hand. I, Matt Seeley, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution
that I'll support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of
and
America
the Constitution of the State of Michigan
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the city charter and ordinances of the Village of Grosse Pointe Shores,
and this city charter and the ordinances of the City of Grosse Pointe Shores,
and faithfully discharge the duty of office of council member
and faithfully discharge the office of City Council Member
of the Village of Grosse Pointe Shores of Michigan City
of the Village of Grosse Pointe Shores of Michigan City
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. Glad to have you, Matt.
We had a heck of a campaign.
Well, now we have the item 9 of the agenda, appointments to the boards, committees, and commissions. And I've recommended, it's been our practice for the last 6 years, of highest vote getter becomes the mayor pro tem. That was Bruce Bisbal. The Planning Commission, all are reappointed. Bob Gazelle will serve as council liaison as he's done. The Pension Commission's been all reappointed. The Tree Board, all reappointed. Doug Cusick will serve as the council liaison. Beautification Committee, all reappointed. We're adding Mary Nichols and Bobby Baltz, to the committee. Thank you, Helen. The Election Commission, Bruce Nichols, Vito, and Bob Brett will be on the Election Commission. Public Works is Bob Brett. Municipal Buildings has been broadened to include all infrastructure projects. That would include the seawall. That would include other issues, including proposals by Rocket Fiber to bring in high-speed cable into Grosse Pointe Shores. That's going to be Bob Brett, and the new name will be the Municipal Buildings and Infrastructure Projects Committee. Council Liaison to Beautification is Bruce Bisbal. Public Relations Liaison is Tina Ellis. She'll be responsible for a newsletter Any press releases that are needed from time to time, Tina will be responsible for that, handling any inquiries to the city that require council input. Tina would be responsible for. Improvement Foundation liaison is Matt Seeley. Finance Committee will be Bruce, Bob Gazelle, and Tina. Senior Citizens Group will be Doug. So any aspect of Pat's, SOC, or the 888 area and agency will be Doug. The Park Committee will be Doug Kusick will be the council liaison. Joe Cipriano will be the chairperson. Tom Mellos, Kathy Murmages, and John Mueller will also serve on the Park Committee. The Harbor Committee will be Matt Seeley as council liaison. John Siegel will be the chairperson. Bruce Vollmer, Bernie Pemberton, and Carl Kratz are going to also be joining them on the Harbor Committee. I need a motion to accept these appointments from council.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. At this point, reports by chairpersons. Rhonda?
Good afternoon, everyone. In your package, you have your normal list of wire transfers for the month of December. Nothing unusual here. We're starting with the tax distributions on the property taxes. On your check register, you'll see a check for asphalt control for $30,000 roughly for the repairs on Briarcliff. We also had fire hydrant purchase and replacement. There was also another check issued to Pipe Tech Infrastructures for the sewer cleaning of nearly $38,000. Most of the bills are normal business. Do you have any questions regarding any certain ones at all?
The officers cleaning, is that
It's
dry
by union
cleaning of their
contract, yes.
uniforms? Okay.
Mhm. And then the Public Works has a boot allowance that was.
Rhonda, on Hubble Roth, we have the Ford House. Is that to be reimbursed, or is that,
Yes, any of the related bills for the Ford House water main expansion will be reimbursed by the Ford House.
and then I see a charge from our actuary. Is that the last
The
payment
most recent GASB
for the
change.
GASB change? Okay. Are there any questions from council? Not, I need a motion to accept this check run amounting to $383,193.
So moved.
Support. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Okay, and water bills are due the first week of January. Tax bills, we've been getting a lot of payments in for the property tax bills for the winter bill.
And I suppose that's going to continue with the new
Yes.
tax bill.
Tax bill.
Right, and to that point, we've had a lot of people calling, questioning, can we prepay our 2018 property taxes? We'll always accept your money. But whether or not it will be deductible on your 2017 income tax return is something that everyone needs to talk to their income tax professional. You know, I've gotten different answers regarding this. Just last night, I had an email that says that an individual may not claim an itemized deduction in 2017 on a prepayment of tax for a future taxable year in order to avoid the dollar limitation applicable for taxable years beginning after 2017. The tax reform proposal is 1,098 pages. I tried, scanning through. It isn't until you get to a page 1,078 where they start talking about it. So I would suggest anyone interested in prepaying their taxes to talk to an income tax specialist.
Okay, good. Good work, Rhonda. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bruce isn't here, and I think the finance meeting is it in January or the next one? February.
We may have some, we'll have Rhonda some budget adjustments, those are year-end things from last year, now that the actual audit is final, and stuff, and we'll take care of that later on the agenda.
Okay. But at the last meeting, we had the auditors here, and so they discussed, we're going to accept the audit report, later in new business. So, all right, thanks, Rhonda. Chief? Public Safety.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Just a preliminary, there is a on-off switch on your microphone if you don't think the mic is working. The system is on. morning, Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to just extend a welcome to Councilmember Seeley. As I've stated to him in a written correspondence, the Public Safety Department is, I've given you some contact information. If we can assist you at any time throughout this, throughout the day or night, please call. Please let us know. The injured officer that was the victim of the dog bite is back to work. He's recovering well. We recently advertised the sale of two 2015 Ford Explorers. I was happy to report that we received $7,900 for one and $7,500 for the other one, so a total of $1,500 is more than half the cost of one of the new vehicles, so we're happy about that. Just a thank you to a resident. December 12th, a commercial snowplow took down one of our street signs, the decorative street signs, and left the scene. An alert resident captured the name of the company, called us. We did a little investigation, and we obtained he came in, he admitted to it, and so we've written him a violation for leaving the scene of an accident, and he had no snow permit, so we issued that as well. I just wanted to mention that for the Wall of Honor, the statue or the metal plate is being prepared for Benson Ford. We're waiting for a prototype back, just a mock-up, and we're working on the language as well with Ford House. So, just lastly, I'd like to recognize the tremendous generosity from our residents. To date, we have sent over 50 thank yous to residents for their kind expression at Christmas for the services of the Public Safety Department, and I will speak for Brett, and I know he's received many as well. So we're very grateful to the residents for their support and for their generosity at Christmas. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Are there any questions from the chief?
I just have a couple of comments. Number one, about our public safety. We have a new resident that moved in across the street from us just about a month ago, and we had the opportunity to speak with him this weekend. And he comes to us from the farm, so he is somewhat local. He expressed how he was so surprised at how many times he sees public safety up and down the street and waving, and how friendly and how it seems. He was just like, are there problems on the street? Why do we have? Why are they always here? And I said, well, other than me, no, there are no problems here. And explained to him the House Watch program, and it's so nice to be able to boast about that. So for that, I say thank you. Secondly, I had the opportunity to see the officer that was injured in that dog accident, and I am telling you, not much shocks me, but the injuries that he sustained were extensive. And his demeanor and his attitude, this was my job, this was part of my job, this is what I do. It was just so refreshing. I mean, there was no pity, there was no anything. This was my job. And my heart goes out to him, and I express this to some, that hopefully, everything he heals well. But it was, his words were, this is my job. I was doing this on duty. So again, thank you to your officers. We couldn't ask for anyone better here.
He's very dedicated, and yes.
Yes.
That's very true. And so thank you very much.
Yes.
Thanks, Chief. There is one item, the drug forfeiture fund. I think we still have some money in there. How will they get allocated in the future? Are there any projects that you can use that money?
The drug asset forfeiture account can be used for anything that is law enforcement related.
Mhm.
It cannot be used for general fund purchases.
Right, okay,
So there's strict guidelines on that by statute.
okay, good. Thanks, Chief. Public Works? Is Brett?
I know he'd want me to say, things are in good hands with the rest of the crew. They have plowed snow, and I know having been calls about high, water, high water hills, we respond to those and we can check those. I'm sure you want to say, which I'll say later too, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone, and a Happy New Year. And thanks for the support that you guys provide to, the Public Works Department and the Public Safety Department, all of the staff. Because, we watch this one, great staff.
Okay. Thanks, Mark, for the report. Park and Harbor?
Yeah, just two things. During when, in the park, on the harbor, basically, when the ice freeze is over, they're gonna finish the boardwalks, and so we go from there. That's all pre-scheduled. Tom has that scheduled. The pilings, there's between 40 and 50 pilings that have raised from the ice, and once the ice goes away, that guy's already scheduled to come in and start putting them back down to normal. He didn't come last year because he was sick, and he got behind, and he couldn't get to us, so he's gonna finish that all off. Other than them two things, everything else in the park is on track.
And I know, Bob, you're looking at, like, we were talking about the restroom doors and
The restroom doors,
the updated sinks now are in, and how we can spruce up our bathhouse, so.
there's new mirrors gonna go in the bathhouse, which will improve that light quite a bit with some new LED lighting.
Mm-hmm.
We're just waiting on the brochure to see what the doors look like.
Okay,
We do have a quote on them, but I'm not willing to talk about that just yet, so.
okay.
We'll get the brochure and see if it's worthwhile, but it's the same company that put the doors in the front of the council, the
Okay.
city hall here.
Okay.
So it's a reputable firm, and these doors have held up really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Is
Tina?
there a way that in the summer, I know that on the weekends, we have two park rangers that are working there, that we can maybe include in their job description, if we're not gonna hire like a dock boy, is that while there are two, that we can have one, like on the early shift, go out and power wash the docks and the walkway from the
Every day, you know, like.
right,
yeah,
from the
mhm.
bird messes that we seem to have quite a bit. I mean, is that something, rather than if we can't find the money to hire a dock boy, or we don't feel the need, that we can incorporate, I know, Chief, that kind of falls under your realm, the park rangers, include in their job description that while there are two of them there, one goes and power washes? Is that something that can be done?
All under review, and there's no question we'd like to spend more attention to someone on the staff.
Yeah, Mark and I have discussed that, because I know the yacht club does it at least once a day, I think, in the
Right.
morning. And,
Along with that, Brett is looking at Geese Busters. You know, he's talked to them and some other items to, and the seagulls too are a big issue too out there.
they're not related to Ghostbusters, are they?
No. Just the name of it, but he's looking at all that things, because you gotta control the geese and the pigeons
Right, right,
to be able to even stay on top. They can power wash it 2 hours later.
right.
Now, those coyotes, that we have those coyote cutouts, is that helping, do you think, or, you know, I think on the, we have a couple of them?
One of the law enforcement agencies, he didn't know they were out there, and he was gonna pull his gun and just thought it was a coyote. I've seen it in action 2 other places, and they do work. You do have to move them periodically, because if you leave them to, they'll jump right to it. But
Okay,
I think they'll work, but there's some other actions gotta happen too.
okay, good. The Improvement Foundation, Brett, you want to come up and give us a little update?
Christmas, everyone, Mr. Mayor, Council. Our next meeting will be January 11th. We would not know what to talk about at this point in time. On behalf of the trustees and the officers, I'd like to thank Tina for all her help with the foundation and welcome Matt. And we look forward to meeting with you and create some new projects and get the funding necessary. So, other than that, I'll talk more next month for you.
Okay, thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
We have, big hopes, that we'll have more, I think, good coordination, and we'll get a lot of things done in 2018. Brian, legal report?
Thanks, Mayor. Since the date of the last city council meeting, the city attorney's been involved in the following activities on behalf of the city. First, and again, these are not necessarily in any chronological order, but first we consulted with the city regarding planning commission meeting agenda matters. We also consulted with the city regarding the 707 Lakeshore Road lot split application that was before the city zoning board, or city council rather, last month. We are preparing, I think we finalized a response to the city auditor annual request for information regarding pending or threatened litigation. We consulted with the city also regarding building issues and complaints involving a builder, Michigan Homes, I believe it was, on and Sheldon Road construction activities. We also conducted a review of the PATS and SOC, Citizens Services for Older Citizens bylaws and organizational materials, in preparation for a tentatively scheduled early January meeting with the representatives of SOC and SMART, the bus transportation service. Purpose of the meeting is to obtain SMART's approval of greater involvement of SOC in operating the bus service and fewer administrative responsibilities that would be incumbent on the PATS member communities, including Grosse Pointe Shores. We're going to try and get the annual or the reporting requirements down to twice a year instead of 4 or 6 times a year, among other things. We also, regarding 57 Michaud Court, that's the vacant lot that the city owns, we analyzed the city's potential options concerning property sale and closing procedures. We've had some contact with both the title company and the builder who put in the bid on that lot, and still waiting for title work and the scheduling of a closing. On the Deeplands Drive matter, the Wayne County Circuit Court appeal in particular, we've had some discussions with the proposed developer and his counsel. We've reviewed a number of documents in connection with the appeal. And we're preparing for appeal briefing and arguments. The appellant's brief is actually due tomorrow, the 20th. Ours is due January 14th, I believe. And then, no, I'm sorry, January 22nd, and then February 14th is oral argument in the matter. And then finally, we also reviewed some city records and prepared a response to a document subpoena that was sent to the Public Safety Department for EMS records involving an employee of the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club who on 2 different occasions had been transported to the hospital by the city's public safety group. That's my report. Any
Okay.
questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Brian? Not, thanks, Brian. Good report. Mark?
And we're going to say the same thing. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. We appreciate the staff. We appreciate the cooperation and council in letting the employees do their job. And I know we should say that with the chief, with Brad, with Rhonda, et cetera. It's great to work with the team who allows that and allows the creativity that the staff has in terms of, successful things like the gadget we bought to cut steel out of that the mechanic can use and rebuild the truck. You've seen, trucks we bought off, we bought to, and it's now painted and it's brand new. Appreciate that. One of the successful things that Rhonda just participated, and we've had Neil Maury and Rhonda as members of our staff as well for the leadership program. There's a leadership Detroit that we have not participated in. The closest one that really includes some of the things is the other county station in the county. Just recently finished her leadership at home program. And in addition, Tom has taken as kind of the secretary of the planning commission, the entire citizen planner course, and made a small adjustment in Tom's case. The salary is, we now can click it online. Certainly would like to have members of the planning commission participate in that program. We can do the whole thing online. I hate to tell you, it's part of Michigan State and it is an extension, but they want to, it's really a wonderful program. And to have trained, well, I've taken the program as well as I am an AICP member. It's really helpful for us when decisions come to account to the planning commission that they have taken these kinds of I know, the mayor participated, probably you can say this, with the, ribbon cutting at the courthouse. We're still in the process of going through 500 pages of paper documents, as well as online ones, of their, plans for their projects over the next couple of years. And, we will be meeting with them shortly to wrap up the discussion. Our permit process here is tailored toward, residential property. And, we've done an extensive amount of research with respect to what other communities charge. And I want to make sure that the fees that we review are based on, the time spent and what's reasonable with respect to what other communities charge as well. So we're almost finished with that process. And one of the complaints we got was one of the new houses that was over on Sheldon in that same area, the Deeplands area, and that builder has applied for his fund, so that project would be eventual. So, and I would say, just in terms of any construction, it's always it oftentimes is retained from the neighbors, and we ask them to call us if there are specific issues, like blocking driveways by employees or something like that on site. We bring it to the attention of the developer, and they are usually very accommodating, taking care of that, because they want it. They're usually building houses for someone that is going to be a neighbor. They want to be a good neighbor. So, that's all I have. Happy to answer your question.
Yeah, the work that the Ford House did out front along Lakeshore, do you have any information on that? They spruced it up a little bit, and I talked to,
Plantings, yeah.
Things like that.
the tree plantings. Kathleen
No,
Mullins says
that
they
was
put
part
in
of the
thousands of
relocation
bulbs.
Project with the parking inside and the temp that they have inside for, the contractor, and I could have said this under Russ, that I think we're the only thing waiting on the water main project, still a few bills, and we'll be forwarding those to them, is the hookup by DTE. And Brett and I have made some calls, and Bobby even got involved with folks he knows down in Dickinson. We need to hook up for the vault that is on the west side, and then that project will be completed and funded.
Well, good.
Just a question, I know December 15th was the day that the Boatwell deposits needed to be in. Where are we as far as,
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I could have asked Tom,
okay,
but I'll send a note to
Okay.
council, as to who's renewed. There were a lot of changes this year to make sure we got people on the right side as well, and then the committee, Bob's committee, and others that had input, and joint meetings, as to sending out notices early and making sure people got the right size well for theirs, and those who wanted, residents that wanted particularly well. I think we're able to accomplish all of that, but I'll get you a list, the status of each of the renewals.
Mark,
There's only one boat, I think, that Tom was working on.
Mark, did we secure that house on Sheldon? I know last month there was a complaint about that the building was open, the house was
Yeah,
open.
it turned out, and we require this for all new construction, and you'll see the Krugers are under construction of that. Very first day of driving down the street, hey, there's no snow. There's just the little, snow fence for the, permit they're required to get for soil erosion. There's a little soil erosion fence. That was on order and is up. Same is true on that case. That house in Sheldon, green screen fence had gone up previously. There are two openings, and we got a hold of the contractor who brought to our attention that one of them was open, one of this, they put snow fence across to screen it off when there isn't a contractor working there. And it was open that particular day, contractor addressed it. And I went by afterwards, asked him, and I think he asked him public safety. We've not had a problem since that time, but we again, encourage
Okay, good. All right, good report, Mark. No old business. New business is the, last month we met with the auditors and talked about the audit report. So at this point, we need a motion to receive and file the 2017 year-end audit report.
So moved.
Second. Support. Any further discussion from that earlier meeting where we discussed the report? If not, all those in favor of receiving and filing the report for our public domain, say aye. Aye. And then we're required by the Michigan State Tax Commission to have guidelines under the federal law, property guidelines for assessments resolution. As far as I know, we've never had anybody appeal for that relief, but on page 52 and 54 are the guidelines for the 2018 federal property rules. I need a motion to adopt those guidelines.
So moved.
Is support?
Second.
Any further comments? Again, we haven't had anybody apply for this relief before. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it passes. Public comment? Any public comment? Okay, council member comments. Bob?
Just have a very Merry Christmas and a joyous New Year.
Okay, good. Matt?
I wanted to thank the chief and Mark for giving me some great direction when I was first considering running and then actually during the process. So they've been available to me and answered a lot of the questions I have. I wanted to thank them personally for that. And I also wanted to mention that Lynn had signed me up for the Michigan Municipal League training for city council people. It was a very useful class, and I enjoyed meeting city council people from other cities. One takeaway from the meeting that I thought was worth mentioning is with the Freedom of Information Act, we are to a point now where if we use our personal email in any way, or our business email, or our cellular devices to communicate, that in a Freedom of Information Act, those devices can be gone through, and it creates a lot of exposure for every one of us. So I just wanted to mention that I had called Mark and asked him to use a city-provided email address so that all of my emails regarding city business will be on the city server. And if someone's using a cellular device or personal email or business email address, there is exposure there. So I just thought I'd mention that. Otherwise, I appreciate the great welcome today and Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
Just along that line, I was just going to say, each of the council, we have arranged to set you up. We've talked about this in the past. If someone does not want a city email for you as council members, please let us know. Because he's right. We mentioned this in the past, but there have been a number of more recent cases. Brian could probably comment on it or have seen them that people's whole family history has been pulled because they were using their personal emails for secret. We'll send you the new listing of each of them, and if for some reason you don't want to use it, just let us know. It can be deleted. Good comment that you raised that because we mentioned this in the past, but I think it's
Yeah, very good point, Matt. Tina?
Just thank you. Today, we're going to celebrate all the volunteers, all the wonderful residents that we have that come out and work hard to make our city as wonderful as it is. Thank you. Let's continue that and get your neighbors involved next year so that we can have more and more the merrier. Merry Christmas and whatever holiday you celebrate, enjoy. And we look forward to a really good 2018.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tina. Bob?
I just want to join in, obviously, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thanks to the administration and staff, do a wonderful job again this year, and all of our volunteers that we couldn't operate without. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well stated. Doug?
I'm always the last one, so. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone.
Well, thanks, Doug. I mean, this being the end of the year, I mean, this is a time when you reflect on the year and the good and the bad, perhaps. But in this case, I'm very grateful for the hard work, starting with the Finance Committee, working, tirelessly, and and to deal with all the money issues of the city and how it gets coordinated, throughout our community. Thankful to the Finance Committee for delivering a balanced budget, adding to our reserves. We've safely well above the 25% rainy day fund that auditors recommend for a very solid financial footing. Maintaining our AAA bond status. Again, and then dealing with a reserve for recreational improvements at the park. The Planning Commission, I want to thank the Planning Commission. Bob, many meetings, some difficult meetings. We're dealing with some very difficult issues. The Deeplands issue is a very, very difficult issue. And then other split issues where you have to factor in the community as a whole, and you have to make a decision in the best interest of the community. Again, as a whole, not necessarily for the property owner's interest itself, but how does it fit in? And so I'm very grateful for I've attended many of the Planning Commission meetings, and again, I see the hard work that goes on, and working in concert with our city planner, Mark, with Tom, getting up to speed also as essentially a planner, thankful for the beautification committee. I look at Helen there, and I see I'm already anticipating the spring blooms now. I'm moving past winter, and I'm looking into spring. The city couldn't look as nice if it wasn't for the hard work of the beautification committee. Helen has a dedicated group of probably a growing group of over 18 people that are very interested in keeping the community looking its best. I'm thankful to the Improvement Foundation. We're going to recognize Bill Darling, one of the originators, one of the main incorporators to the Improvement Foundation, about 30 years ago, who had the vision, and his blueprint was copied by the other Grosse Pointes. He was the first one of the Grosse Pointes to seek 501c status, and that group now has garnered over $1 million of contributions and donations for the public good. And I'm really looking forward to more events, more fundraisers, more good things happening with the Improvement Foundation. I see Brett Marshall in the back. And that's not an easy job there. I've been to some of those meetings too, because you have to deal with the project committee and all the different subcommittees and work it out. We've had the Park and Harbor Committee, Bob, under Bob's leadership, to deal with, again, difficult issues. Obviously our tennis courts are in a bad state, but do we move the tennis courts? Do we not move the tennis courts? And again, we've spent money on engineering to determine what's best for the community, because we're making a once-in-a-generation decision here. It's a decision that's going to far outlast my useful life. And so we're looking forward, and I think now we're staying in place. The tennis courts will be in place this year. Some our employees, our dedicated employees, to save money, will powder coat the post. We're going to reuse some of the materials that are at the tennis site, but it's going to be brand new. It's going to really be an enhancement. We got parking lot issues. We talked about the gatehouse. These are all issues, Park and Harbor, and now the redesign park division or park committee versus the harbor committee. I'm thankful to Bob to handle anytime I need something or inquire. I call Bob Brett. I said, Bob, what can we do in the restrooms at the bathhouse to make them look better? The bathhouse is looking a little tired. What can we do? And Bob's on a mission then, and getting exploring what can be done. He's still going to be responsible for municipal buildings, but we're going to broaden that to we're going to call it an infrastructure committee. And we have infrastructure needs. The seawall bothers me. The seawall is in a terrible shape, not only in our community, but in Grosse Pointe Farms. We're going to have to deal with this. This is going to be a multi-million-dollar project that's going to have to be overseen by someone. Bob is going to be responsible for that. Rocket Fiber wants to come to our community. They want to install high-speed cabling, which may give us some greater latitudes in essentially almost having like our own little cable company. But those are infrastructure projects that come with a cost, and we have to determine the needs of the community before we properly vet it and go forward. But all the committees that makes this community work, I mean, I'm just so proud to live in Grosse Pointe Shores because, you know, when I come here and I'm seeing the gateways, our lake shore, it always looks so pretty. Now it's so decorated with Christmas lights and whatnot. No snow on the ground. I mean, Brett Smith does a wonderful job of improvising, making sure that our roads are clean and safe. The chief does a great job in responding to, you know, emergency situations, you know, as they occur, and our residents are very grateful for it. So, I mean, at this point, I have a lot of gratitude as I look at the volunteers. I see Chuck in the back there smiling a little bit. He's on the pension commission. You know, we meet at 7:30 in the morning, you know, for a couple hours, and we discuss different investment options. We look at different policy decisions that have to be made to make sure our mix of investments are suitable for the long-term financial, you know, viability of our community. But very proud of the residents that make this city work and work better. So again, at this point, I feel very proud to be a resident of this city, and I reckon we're going to reckon with all the volunteers. We're going to have this reception. I think it's important to let the volunteers know how important you are to making this a smooth-running community. I see Mary hiding behind the chairperson, the Planning Commission, also working with Helen in concert on the beautification. I mean, that's what makes this place great. We're going to honor the Benson Ford at the next meeting. The chief's working on an inscription. We talked about having every year adding to our wall of honor, having a distinguished individual, someone who's done something just extraordinary within our community, and to recognize those people. I mean, those are our leaders, not just in the community, but in the country, in the world. You mentioned Ralph Wilson, and people think in the world. I mean, he's a world-known person. Benson Ford also. Bill Darling will get the Mayor's Award at the next month's meeting. And again, for recognition for his service in being the originator behind the Improvement Foundation and all the wonderful work that goes on with the Improvement Foundation. So at this point, our next meeting is January 16th at 7 o'clock, not noon, 7 o'clock. I invite a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
To support?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And once again, welcome to Matt Seeley, our new council member.
Nice talk. Nice talk. That was very nice.
Thanks.